So, good afternoon. I am Herr Meta from MetaSensing, and today I will be illustrating what the company has been doing in this last year for introducing more commercially radar sensors and applications. So, what is radar? Radar, what we are specifically doing is a synthetic aperture radar. Is a sensor that you can place on an airborne platform or satellite, basically a moving platform, and it can generate pictures. What you see on the top of the slides is actually a radar picture. So this is what a picture of obtained with radar looks like. So you can make 2D images, 3D images, which are represented by that. Now, why radar? I mean, yes, in this conference you see a lot of optical sensors, LIDAR and hyperspectral. Radar is an instrument which works independently of the light conditions, so during day and during night, with clouds, fog, dust. Therefore, it's a valid instrument which can be operational also when several other instruments cannot work, because of the electromagnetic waves can penetrate clouds and dust, and also because it can depending on the frequency and bands that one use, you can penetrate more also forests, and this is an added value. Advantage, especially in area like in tropical forests where you have complete coverage of the ground, so you basically cannot see what is in the ground. And with them I will see some picture where with radar basically you can penetrate completely into the forest and also into the sand in dry sands area. When I was saying that we are making a radar from a commercial point of view in a different way, it means that now we are operating sensors in several different airborne platforms, ranging from very small, for instance, Cessna 172 or 182, which you can find it everywhere, and to go to larger 208 or CASA 212, Piper, and so on. That's the complete difference to compared to previous radar systems, which were operated only in larger airborne platform. And again, what is pictures which you can get? These are examples of X-band picture, which you can use for mapping or for surveillance, just because, they work with nights and fog. X-band, it can give you high resolution. You can see several kinds of details, and you can achieve some what is called interferometry, which means, digital surface model can be derived by this kind of picture. These have been acquired with very small aircraft, so the sensors are very compact, which can be mounted on compact platforms. And what you can see here are colors which are proportional to the height or the objects on the ground, and the intensity is proportional to the radar picture. Now, radar does not achieve the same accuracy as you can achieve with LIDAR, but is a complete advantage, for instance, in after disaster management, where you want to have a map of the area you want to have it just in that moment. And usually when you have such a kind of disaster like flooding or a lot of rain, you cannot use any other instruments. Optical, because it's often cloudy or rainy. Laser, because also if it's rainy and cloudy, you don't get very high results. And third, because you need to fly most of the time very high, because if there is turbulence on the cloud level, you need to fly above. And radar has the great advantage that the resolution does not depend on the distance. Whether you fly a 1 kilometer or 5 kilometers, you still get the same spatial resolution image on the ground. And especially now we can get this kind of information nearly real time, so that while you are flying, when you are back, you already have this information. This is very important for decision maker after for instance, disaster, as recently last year happened, for instance, in Thailand, where there was the need for getting information about where water was, which kind of infrastructure and structure were available exactly after this disaster happened. One, as I say, that was an X-band image. Now MetaSensing has become official suppliers of Italian oil and gas company, where we operate PL and X-band system. This means that we fly a set of different radar different frequencies in order to get, for instance, flying over forest, images of the ground, images of the trees, and images above the top. These are example of L-band pictures which we acquired. L-band, X-band basically means different frequency. 10 gigahertz X-band, L-band is 1.3. And we use polarimetry in order to get classification. These images have been downgraded to 15 meters, but our system works to 1 meter resolution. The combination of different bands is particularly important for classification of forests. One thing that we are really proud of, and the results will be released in 3 months by the oil and gas company, is that we managed to make classification of the terrain below the forest, where no other instruments could actually see what was under the forest. So that's, when radar becomes and can play an important role. When you can use laser or optical, it's okay. But if you cannot see with that, then radar is what is an instrument which can provide you answer to your solution. These were other examples of survey done for over the Alps and the Apennines. Other instruments, radars which we have been operating, for instance, like the SNOSAR is a dual band X and KU band. We have been operating them in the north of Lapland. Next week, the sensor will be shipped in Canada, where we'll be acquiring images over the snow next to Alaska. And this year is been flying in Austria. Here, just to give you a snapshot of the flying condition, the instruments were mounted on different platforms like Piper and larger Cessna. And what do? You basically use 2 bands in order to make pictures of the snow. And by using 2 bands, you can see the property of the snow, how dense, how compact is it. And now we are using all these campaigns which we have done for the European Space Agency in order to monitor snow over the Alps for avalanche prediction and protection. Here's an example of, for instance, how compact our instruments are. So you can mount everything inside the platform. You don't modify the aerodynamic of the plane, and you can just fly and acquire images for that with that. But these are examples. We have been flying for all winters every 2 weeks, and then for certain periods every 3 days, acquiring more than 1,200 images and over the snow in Sodankila in Lapland. And basically, we have been monitoring the all changes of the snow accumulation in that area. And yeah, you can see exactly what is changing, which kind of snow, if it's fresh snow, if snow old snow, the compactness, and so on. Yeah, these are other examples of polarimetric and radar image. Just to give you a snapshot of what basically, that's a radar picture, that's an optical picture. They are different but complementary, and you can use them for detection and classification. We are working now in several fields for security and defense application, where we can track moving targets, detection. We are installing, for instance, sensors in Italy over the coast for monitoring harbors and the detection of small ships entering harbors, etc. This for what concerns the airborne application. Now, based on experience we accumulated in the past 10 years, we have developed a new sensor which is called the Fast GBSAR, which is a ground-based SAR. Is an instrument which can monitor deformation and displacement with some millimeter accuracy. Basically, how does it work? You can operate it in to more distances up to some 4 kilometers. And what is important is that we can make pictures every 5 seconds with such a kind of instruments, and you can use it for monitoring different things. One is monitoring vibrations of tower or instruments of bridge. This is an example how we were able to really follow the slow movements of the tower, and you can see here the scale. I mean, here we are talking about 15 millimeters, so really some millimeter accuracy. You can just see a small displacement of such a kind of platform. Or what is very important, you can use it to monitor dikes, slopes, open pit mines. How do you do that? You put these instruments on a rail, and this is an example of monitoring our dikes in the Netherlands. We were monitoring the dike, which was pushed to failure, and what we could basically see with an instrument placed at some certain distance. So this is a displacement of the surface of the dike. And you can see, I mean, after time, this will last something like 5 days, and you can really see then the area where the dike was brought to failure. For basically, the instrument produces a 2D map, and for each of points of the map, you can derive then you can see the deformation which happened, and this is very useful, for instance, in all the application like open mines, where you want to have a alarm alert if something is happening there. And with our instruments, you can get this within 5 seconds. So if something is moving within 5 seconds, you have your information about the movement. So basically, this is I want to give you an overview of what we have been doing in the airborne field and in the ground-based field. We are, as I say, we are a Dutch company. We have been, were born with the European Space Agency Business Incubation a few years ago. Now we are around some 20 full-time and high-qualified people in radar, and so we are member of a large aerospace group called SSBV, operated based in the Netherlands, and we are just placed in the European Space Business Park in Noordwijk in the Netherlands. Plus, we have other offices in Oberpfaffenhofen, where we collaborate strictly with the German Space Center for post-processing of synthetic aperture radar data. And yeah, this is more general overview and introduction about the MetaSensing, the new approach we are bringing in the radar mapping field. And I thank you for your attention, and I'm sorry for a little bit some organization shift, but I'm happy that you could see the introduction about MetaSensing.